In the darker shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes. The order of the Abercast. We are the brave and bold.
The Ages begins with the shocking story of Cain and Abel and the journey of violence and revenge spanning thousands of years, following Cain through his cursed life from an ancient invasion of malicious angels to the American Revolutionary War. A masterful, compelling journey through time, The Ages delves deep into arcane knowledge, myth, and legend. The art is stunning, and the story takes you on a journey where mortals, immortals, angels, and demons are all forced to deal with the folly that is God's creation. It's a beautifully dark and gritty ride through history. This 4-part story follows the astrological procession of the ages and how each 2,500-year age parallels major changes in the development of Earth's inhabitants. Cain's blasphemous struggle with the divine and sacred tyrant God will create and crumble empires, shape history, and cause a cosmic cataclysm.
Foreign governments gave millions to foundation while Clinton was at State Department, by Rosalind S. Helderman and Thomas Hamburger. This is right from WashingtonPost.com. The Clinton Foundation accepted millions of dollars from 7 foreign governments during Hillary Rodham Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, including one donation that violated its ethics agreement with the Obama administration, Foundation officials disclosed Wednesday. Most of the contributions were possible because of an exemption written into the Foundation's 2008 agreement, which included limits on foreign government donations. The agreement reached before Clinton nominations amid concern that the countries could use the Foundation's donations to gain favor with the Clinton-led State Department. And I would continue to say not only that, but also as a favor in the pocket of a Clinton-led White House, if it would have leaned that way. Back to the story. I'm sorry. I usually don't digress during these cold opens, but it's a long thing, and I got a lot of shit to say about it. Allowed governments that had previously donated money to continue making contributions at similar levels. New disclosures provided in response to questions from the Washington Post make clear that 2008 agreement did not prohibit foreign countries with interest before the U.S. government from giving money to the charity closely linked to the Secretary of State. In one instance, Foundation officials acknowledged that they should have sought approval in 2010 from the State Department Ethics Office, as required by the agreement for new government donors before accepting $500,000 donation from the Algerian government. Also, at the beginning of this thing, it said 7 foreign governments. We're going to see that it's not just 7 foreign governments. Back to the article. The money was given to assist with earthquake relief in Haiti. We'll get to a lot of that. The foundation said, at the time, Algeria, which has sought a closer relationship with Washington, was spending heavily to lobby the State Department on human rights issues. We're going to talk a lot about human rights issues and violations as well. While the foundation has disclosed foreign government donors for years, it has not previously detailed the donations that were accepted during Clinton's 4-year stint as the head of the State Department. A foundation spokesman said Wednesday that the donations all went to fund the organization's philanthropic work. 10 cents on the dollar around the world. In some cases, the foundation said foreign government donations were part of multi-year grants that had been awarded before Clinton's appointment to pay for the particular charitable efforts, such as initiatives to lower the cost of HIV and drug charges and curb greenhouse gas emissions. As with other global charities, we rely on the support of individual organizations, corporations, and governments who have the shared goal of addressing critical global changes in meaningful ways, said spokesperson Craig Minnesesson. When anyone contributes to the Clinton Foundation, it goes towards foundation programs that help save lives. Like I said, 10 cents on the dollar. Some of the donations come from countries with complicated diplomatic, military, and financial relationships with the U.S. government, including Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman. Other nations that donated included Australia, Norway, and the Dominican Republic. The foundations present a unique political challenge for Clinton, and one that has already become a cause for concern among Democrats as she prepares to launch an almost certain second bid for the presidency. Rarely, if ever, has potential commander-in-chief been so closely associated with an organization that has solicited financial support from foreign governments. Clinton formally joined the foundation in 2013 after leaving the State Department, and the organization was renamed the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation. The Washington Post reported last week that foreign sources, including governments, made up a third of those who have given the foundation more than $1 million over time. The Post found that the foundation, begun by former President Bill Clinton, has raised nearly $2 billion since its creation in 2001. Foreign governments and individuals are prohibited from giving money to U.S. political candidates to prevent outside influence over national leaders. But the foundation has given donors a way to potentially gain favor with the Clintons outside traditional political limits. I would say that, and also while she was the number one diplomat, as we'll see, she had an awful lot of power that fell in these people's favor. We'll get. I know I'm jumping the gun. I'm already running behind. In a presidential campaign, Hillary Clinton would likely to showcase her foreign policy expertise, yet the foundation's ongoing reliance to foreign government support opens a potential line of attack for Republicans eager to question her independence as Secretary of State and as a possible president. The Wall Street Journal reported last week that the foundation had accepted new foreign government money now that the 2008 agreement has been lapsed. A review of foundation disclosure shows at least two foreign governments, Germany and the United Arab Emirates, began giving in 2013 after the funding restrictions lapsed when Clinton left the Obama administration. Some foreign governments that had been supporting the foundation before Clinton was appointed, such as Saudi Arabia, did not give while she was in office and has since resumed donating. Foundation officials said last week that if Clinton runs, they will consider taking steps to address the concerns over the role of foreign donors. We will continue to ensure the foundation's policies and practices regarding support from international partners are appropriate. Ha! Just as we did when she served as Secretary of State, the foundation said in a statement. Foreign governments have been major donators to the foundation before President Obama nominated Clinton to become Secretary of State in 2009. When the foundation released a list of its donors for the first time in 2008 as a result of the agreement with the Obama administration, it disclosed, for instance, that Saudi Arabia had given between $10 million and $25 million to the Clinton Foundation. 10 cents on the dime, folks, goes to philanthropics. Everything else goes to I don't know, the big vacuous sucking sound that, that is the Clintons. And back to the article. In some cases, the foundation said governments that had continued to donate while Clinton was at the State Department did so at lower levels than before her appointment. Again, it's because everyone thought she was going to become the next president of the fucking United States of America. Back to the article. Foundation officials said Wednesday that the ethics review process required under the 2008 agreement for new donors for the existing government donors wishing to materially increase their support was never initiated during Clinton's State Department years. Again, it's not needed. Everybody was paying to have access to who everyone, including her, thought was going to be the next president of the United States. But, back to the article, but they added, on one occasion, it should have been. The Algeria donation. The donation from Algeria for Haiti earthquake relief, they said, arrived without notice within days of the 2010 earthquake and was distributed as direct aid to assist in relief. Algeria has not donated to the foundation since, officials said. The government coincided with a spike in the North African country's lobbying visits to the State Department. That year, Algeria spent, $422,097 lobbying the U.S. government officials on human rights issues and U.S.-Algeria relations, according to the filings made under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, tracked by the Sunlight Foundation, shows that while the Algerian government's overall spending on lobbying in the United States remained steady, that there was an increase in 2010 State Department meetings held with lobbyists representing the country. I'm sure it was that extra $97 that pushed it all over the ethical limit. I'm positive of it. With 12 visits, back to the article, with 12 visits to the department officials that year, including some visits with top political appointees in the years before and after, only a handful of State Department visits were recorded by Algeria lobbyists. Do you guys know that this happens? Do you guys know that foreign governments lobby our politicians? Like, the money that we give to whatever political party or whatever political figure, hard-earned American cold hard cash, every dollar we give to, like, the dude that we believe in or whatever can just be negated by some fucking country across the ocean that's trying to get a better reputation because they're shitty on the human rights front. We're going to get into a lot of this pretty soon. I need everyone to hold on to your fucking seats while I get through this. I swear I'm going to get back to it. Back to the article. I need a drink. I need to lube up. Back to the article. The country was a concern for Clinton and her agency. In 2010, the State Department reported on human rights in Algeria, noted that the principal human rights problem included restrictions on freedom of assembly and association, and cited reports of arbitrary killings, widespread I'm going to rewind it. In 2010, State Department report on human rights in Algeria noted that principal human rights problems included restrictions on the freedom of assembly and association, and cited reports of arbitrary killings, widespread corruption, and lack of transparency. Who does that sound like? Arbitrary killings, widespread corruption, and lack of transparency? Who's this episode on again? Back to the article. Additionally, the report issued in early 2011 discussed restrictions on labor and women's rights. Algeria is one of those complicated countries that forces the United States to balance our interests and values, Clinton wrote in her 2014 book called Hard Choices. She said that the country was an ally in combating terrorism, but that it also has a poor human rights record and relatively closed economy. Clinton met with the president of Algeria during a 2012 visit to the country. A State Department spokesperson referred questions about the ethics office review to the charity Nick Morrell. A Clinton spokesman declined to comment. Besides Algeria, a number of other countries that donated to the foundation during Clinton's time in the State Department also lobbied the U.S. government during that time. Qatar, for instance, spent more than $5.3 million on registered lobbyists while Clinton was Secretary of State. According to the Sunlight Foundation, the country's lobbyists were reported monitoring anti-terrorism activities in an effort to combat violence in the Sudan's Darfur region. Qatar has also come under criticism from some U.S. allies in the region that have accused it of supporting Hamas and other military groups. Qatar has denied these allegations. In 2008, agreement laid out that the new rules were intended to allow the Clinton Foundation to continue its, quote, important philosophic or philanthropic work around the world, unquote. Again, I add for 10 cents on the dollar. While avoiding conflicts, it was assigned by Bruce Lindsay, the founder's chief executive, and Valerie Jarrett, who is a bad actor. Whenever you hear her name, there's fucking shit going on. Who was co-chair of Obama's transition team. Jennifer Friedman, a White House spokesperson, said in a statement that the agreement was signed, quote, to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, unquote, and in, quote, in keeping with the high standards we set for our nominees, unquote. It's just so funny. She said that the deal went above and beyond standard ethic requirements. Clinton Foundation fundraising, particularly from foreign governments, came up repeatedly at Clinton confirmation hearings and for the Secretary of State. I wonder why. Back to the article. Then Senator Richard G. Lugar from Indiana, who was the ranking Republican on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, called the foundation, quote, a unique complication that will have to be managed with great care and transparency, unquote, and called the organization not to take any new foreign government money while Clinton was serving as Secretary of State. Fat fucking chance. Back to the article. The Clinton Foundation exists as a temptation for any foreign entity or government that believes it can curry favor through donations. He said then, quote, it also sets up potential perception problems with any action taken by the Secretary of State in relation to foreign givers or their countries. We're going to see this. We're going to see a lot of this. Lugar also called on the foundation to release more information about its donors, including how much each gives annually. Since 2008, the foundation has released only how much donors have given cumulatively over time. He said ethic officials should review donations from all foreign sources, not just governments, because of the close ties that many countries between the wealthy interests and government officials. We will see this over and over again in this study. We will see the Chinese. We will see, who else? We'll see it over and over again. Jesus, in India, we're going to see the Chinese. We're going to see the Indians, not the feather Indians, the dot Indians, and the Russians. We're going to see these people using businesses and front people funneling money to the Clintons for favors. We're going to see it. It's going to happen. I've got to get through this goddamn article. Okay, here we go. Here's the counterpoint. Back to the article. Then Senator John F. Kerry, Democrat, Massachusetts, Vietnam veteran, the committee's chairman at the time, called Lugar's concern a legitimate question. Kerry, who succeeded Clinton as the Secretary of State, suggested the potential for at least an appearance of problems if her official duties seem to coincide with their husband's fundraising efforts. Hey, spoiler alert, it does. And we're gonna talk a lot about it. Back to the article. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying. Back to the article. If you're traveling to some country and you meet with the foreign leader, and a week later, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks later, the president travels there and solicits a donation, they pledge to give at some point in the future, but nobody knows, and there's an appearance of conflict. Kerry asked, "Yes, John. Yes, that is right." Back to the article. At the hearing, Clinton said foreign governments donated to the foundation in part because the U.S. government had been slow to press for reductions to the cost of HIV and AIDS drugs. She said the agreement went beyond what was required by law. Quote, I'm not going to do this whole quote. Quote, I will certainly do everything in my power to make sure that the good work of the foundation continues for 10 cents on the dollar without there being any unforward effects on me and my service, and be very conscious of any questions that are raised. She said, I should read that in her voice. I will certainly do everything in my power to make sure that the good work of the foundation continues without there being any untoward effects on me and my service, and be very conscious of any questions that are raised, she said. But I think that the way that this has been hammered out is as close as we can get to doing something that is so unprecedented that there is no formula for it, and we've tried to do the very best we could. So I just reminded myself that when she was giving the speech and on the teleprompter it told her to sigh, it said parenthesis, sigh, unparenthesis, and she was reading it and stopped and had this soulful, glassy, fucking look, cow-eyed look at the teleprompter, and she went, sigh. She didn't sigh, she fucking read sigh.
American, not American. I'm the spring on a brother with any more strings. I am the boogeyman. Bring him out the end with a shovel in my hand. Hiya! I am the real thing.
The Abercast. Occult. History.
Yeah, talk
Conspiracy. Violence.
Society 13 Podcast Network. Redefining podcasts. Society-13.com.
Who likes to listen?
I like to listen.
Who likes to listen? No, he just said it once. That's all he says.
My faith. Sigh.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with me along that long cold open. I needed to get a lot of that out there and in the open, and I need to get it, the whatever. So, last episode, which I just got done recording, was basically Clinton scandals from 1978-ish till the White House. Now, I skipped a bunch of stuff because I can't be here, like, literally. I can't do 7 episodes on this. I'm already kind of getting burned out on the topic, on the subject matter. We still got like another good content for one more show in. So that's what we're gonna finish up the Clinton scandals. We're gonna go from the early 90s till about last November. Tonight we're gonna go through a lot of those where there's a lot of stuff we're skipping to. But whatever. Okay, so before I get started, I got a lot of stuff cooking. I got still working on getting the purchase point up for Revenge in a Saloon Called Hell. It's a comic book. It's a open letter, love letter to the spaghetti westerns of Sergio Leone and others, of course, for sure. The premise is this guy, he's had some run-ins. He had a run-in with this demon lord and this fallen archangel named Uriel. And he's really sore about it after it's quite some time after the initial event or whatever, and he finds a way so he could go to, the dimension, like the tetradimensional plane, like the actual level of hell, so he can exact his revenge on these two entities. And like I said, it's a lot of fun stuff in there. And then creeping right up behind it, I have another book called The Brass City, and it's what happens when you get a World War II era warbot and you fit them up and you drop them off in the desert with a mission to attack this Brass City where these terrorists called the Dar El Harb are hiding out, and shit goes wrong all over the place. They're both part of this larger story. It's going to have 4 books in it called The Rise of the Beast. Yeah, it's called The Rise of the Beast. So, The Rise of the Beast. So there's that. Those are coming up real fast. There's great ways to support the show. You can rate and review. I got a new rate. I read it on the last episode, so I'm excited about that. I'm jazzed up about it. Thank you, Zorley. Thanks again, Josh, as always. So that's a great way to, it's not going to cost you anything to support the show. Rate and review it on iTunes, or if you could do that on Stitcher, I guess do it there, wherever. Another great way to support the show is just to tell your weirdo friend. Like, if you're a weirdo and you like the topics that we talk about here, you probably have another weirdo friend. So fucking tell them about the show. So, I mean, you guys will have something new to talk about or whatever. And also, I like to get new listeners all the time, so that's a great way to do it. And those two things cost you nothing. They cost you nothing. It doesn't even really cost you time. You're already on iTunes getting your podcasts. You're already talking to your fucking friends. It doesn't really cost you even time. The best way to support the show is to pick up a couple comic books. I mean, if you like the shit that we talk about on the show, then you're going to like the shit that we talk about while we're doing in the comic books anyways. So that is the absolute best way to support the show. I got other stuff coming up. I'm working on the cover art for The Wicked Library, the Halloween episode. Usually those guys, Dan, and then Dan usually has Nelson and some other people helping them for the Halloween episodes. So Foytik reached out to me and asked me to do the cover. Usually I do the cover for the Halloween episodes. I think maybe 3 years in a row now, maybe even more than that. I don't know. So this one's going to be fun. It's a lot of fun to do. A little bit of change of direction for me, so I'm excited about that. So go ahead and check in there with the Wicked Library. I guess I'm working on the Halloween episode, so it's got to be like in a week or two, right? No, it's like in a while. But so when you see it, you'll see it, and you'll be like, oh, I think fucking John did that. So I'm your homeboy, John Towers. This is the Abercast, episode 56. We're going to wrap up all this Clinton nonsense tonight, everybody. This fucking night. Within an hour, we'll be done with it. We'll be done with this. And hopefully, with any luck, we'll never have to talk about the Clintons again. I'm just crossing my goddamn fingers. So, this links into, of course, last episode. Also, I think it's episode 52 or 53. It's the last of the 9/11 episodes that gets into some Clinton-ness. It's actually all about the Clintons or whatever. So if you want to complete your set, your expansion pack, there's that. You can go check out those episodes. Also, the Pizzagate episode from way back in the beginning of the show with Martise. You might want to check that out. That's got some Clinton stuff in it. Obviously, I got through this whole thing without mentioning John Podesta once. I mean, that's fucking amazing. All right, so we're gonna get into this. We're gonna rock it and roll it right away after this. All right, so maybe I rolled with that commercial a little bit too soon, because I should have included something along the lines of like these two episodes, last episode and this episode 55 and 56, goes out to the people that are like, well, you know, I saw him like wheel Bill Clinton out and humiliate him for having an extramarital affair, or people that are like, well, anyone would have been better than Trump, or be like, oh, come on, she's just this little old lady who doesn't understand her smartphone, and she's not an IT person. Like, how would she have known about this personal server, you know, let alone, like, it's not a .gov fucking, like, email address or whatever. Like, this is to all these people, and you might be one of these. And, you know, hey, I love you guys. I love you guys for listening to the show, for sure. But let's put this into a little bit of context. You know, this episode and last episode are kind of like to all the people that are like, they can watch a couple of YouTube videos and, you know, forget the works of, you know, Christopher Columbus. You know, they can watch a couple of YouTube videos and come out the other end and be like, you know what, I think the world might be flat. You know, but they can't look at the actions of these Clintons or like any political whatevers and just be like, you know, if there's smoke, there's fire. You know, I gotta say, like, you know, I could watch a couple flat Earth videos and be like, I don't know, man, this thing does sound weird. I don't know. You know, but if there's smoke and there's fire for some flat Earth fucking things, or there's smoke, like if you could watch a couple of YouTube videos and be like, yep, that's it. There's a secret space program and we're fighting Nazis on the other side of the moon, and there's rock spiders up there, and the moon's actually a hologram, and space is filled with water. Actually, the space is actually water. That's why all the science fiction shows we have are based on the Navy. That's it. I totally believe that. Well, if you can buy that, then I just want you just to sit through the rest of this episode and the last episode and be like, okay, if you have there's smoke, there's fire thing when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I understand the Clintons aren't as, you know, dramatic, I guess, as a secret space program where we're fighting Nazis on the moon with rock spiders and space is water, but if you're the kind of person that can take some information and be like, there's smoke, there's fire, well, then I want you to take this information and I want you to be like, there's fire, there's a forest fire. Like, that's what we're going to get into. So, okay, so I'm sorry for all that. And, you know, this isn't a Republican or Democrat thing. This is a Clinton thing. Sometimes if I get in a grouchy mood, I'll just put on that footage from CNN on election night when they go to the Clinton thing. There's like 32 minutes of it on YouTube. It's like everyone just looks like they're dogs in a pound, and they're just sawing other dogs that have been there for an hour longer and a half in the background. They're all just so fucking sad. Oh my God, I fucking love it. It will make me feel better all the time. And people are like, how can you have voted for Trump? I'm telling you, I didn't vote for Trump. People, get it through your brains. I voted against Hillary. I would have voted for my old combat boot that I had in 1992 before I would have voted for this bitch. All right, all rants. I'm just trying to curb all rants. All rants aside, everybody. But I'm saying, don't get turned off at the she's a bitch thing. Stick with me. I have like 17 pages of more notes besides the last episode. It's the vast right-wing conspiracy. So in the 1990s, early 1990s, Bill Clinton gets elected president of the United States of America. Right off the bat, there's Jennifer Flowers. Bam! She came out. She's like, I had a lasting affair with the governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton, and he denied the affair with her up and down. Later in '98, he had to get put under oath, and he admitted, he was like, okay, well, yeah, I fucked her once. Not in that many words. So I'm just going to kind of blow through these, especially like the sex ones, because I'm just like, okay, enough already. Like, we got it. He's a pervert. And you're like, why is he a pervert? Just because he he has a type, right? Just because he likes chubby chicks or chicks with like faces like anvils? I don't know. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, he jammed a cigar up someone's cooch. Like, that's pervert. Like, normal people don't have sex that way. Like a cigar fetish? I don't even think that ever became a thing. Like, you would think after Bill Clinton did it, there'd be, I don't know, what's porn hubs? You'd think there'd be a whole genre of just jamming chicks with cigars after this? I don't think it ever happened. I never saw, when I was a young man back then, I never saw that. People are like, you're fucking wrong. Dick Dangle right now is sending me a tweet. You're wrong. I have a 4-hour commercial-free porn tape from 1996. The Havana Connection. I don't know. All right, Travelgate. Clinton fired every employee of the White House travel office and staffed it with his friends and family. Vince Foster suicide. This at Marcy Park. This actually could have probably been a whole episode all by itself, but I got tired of writing it, so I just made it into that one sentence. If you don't know about Vince Foster's suicide at Fort Marcy Park, I mean, there's documentaries about it. Like, 3-hour fucking documentaries about it. Just go watch that shit. The thing is, like, this guy's committed suicide at Fort Marcy Park by shooting a hole in his head. Like, behind his head with the wrong hand. And people were like, no, when I ran, I was jogging, and when I ran by, like, he was being, like, talked to by, like, some swarthy Italian gentleman or something. I don't know, whatever. It's all out there. Anyhow, it's crazy enough to include on the list. If you were like, how many people do you know that's committed suicide? How many people do you know that's died in mysterious circumstances? How many people do you know that's died in airplanes or boats? I don't know, like, I can probably count my list on, like, one hand. I'm not the governor of Arkansas, and I'm certainly not the president of the United States. I mean, you guys are all suffering from that, I would imagine. However, say if I take my list that I can count in one hand and, like, multiply it by, I don't know, like 50 or something, their number still blows that shit out of the park. I don't have any scientific experiments or proof or formulas on that, but it's phenomenal, and it's just getting bigger. Like, look at this not Seth Meyers, not Seth Green, not Seth MacFarlane. There's this Seth guy that, like, leaked these things, and he got mugged outside of his apartment at 4 o'clock in the morning. Seth Rich, that's his name. Google Seth Rich. Go find a YouTube documentary on Seth Rich. They have 6 degrees. It's right there. And he leaked stuff to WikiLeaks. Licks? I think WikiLeaks is something else. The Filegate. In 1993, the Clintons illegally took and kept 1,000 FBI files of potential enemies from the FBI. Refused to return them. They actually have some of these things now. I think that's actually why neither of them are in fucking jail. Because these FBI files, they don't just contain facts. When these FBI agents and stuff are collecting, like, background checks and stuff, everything that someone says about them gets put in there, whether it's corroborated or not, because it could be corroborated later. So that's what the point of having a file is. That's why they're not all released. That's not why they're at, like, transparencygovernment.gov or whatever. So they're wandering around. They still have 1,000 FBI files, all on, like, George Bush is, not GW, but the other George Bush, the Illuminati one. And like his people and like the Travelgate people that they fired, and they're like, this is why we fired them. Their fucking thing said something. They also did this weird thing where they kept an enemies list, which is, it seems juvenile to me, and I can't figure out why they would have needed to have an enemies list, but they had an enemies list. Next up is Paula Jones and Monica Lewinsky. There's a lot of drawer drop in here and the sexual harassment thing. Bill actually got impeached for this. People will say that he got impeached for having an extramarital affair. That's not it at all. He actually got impeached because he lied under oath, which is something that no one should do, especially the President of the United States, especially one as corrupt as this guy. All this stuff, all this front-loaded stuff, is nothing compared to like the next fucking two or three pages. So it's not because he got his dick sucked. It's because he got lied under oath. The level of corruption is off the charts with this guy. Remember how I told you about how he would just drop his pants and he'd be like all trying to smooch up on somebody. He'd be like, come on, you got a face like an anvil. I kind of love you. You're chubby in just the right ways. Come on. And she's like, I don't want to kiss you. And he's like, okay. And he just drops his shorts and he's like, well, how about you just suck it then? Like, that was his move. Imagine being like, that could be your move. I only use that move like probably 3 times in my life. That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy used it probably 1,000 times. StigmataStudios.com. The Chinese connection. Bill, the DNC, and the Democratic state committees started receiving a ton. And when I say a ton, I mean like a metric ton, not like an ass ton. Ass ton? Ass load of ton of money from the communist Chinese. Through this group called the Riottis. It's the Riotti family and friends, starring this guy named John Wang, or Wong, I don't know. I'm sure he's a great driver. Johnny Wong started off as a dishwasher or cook, like in Arkansas, and wound up becoming like one of Bill Clinton's like homeboys. Turns out he was an agent of the communist Chinese, and through the Riotti family and their friends, and also using this thing called the Lipo Group, they started funneling a shit ton. That's actually the shit ton is actually the right metric of weight. They were granted extraordinary access to the White House and the president. Johnny Wang or Wong, whatever. I'm not saying that to be funny. I don't know how it's pronounced. I would like to think it's Wong, but I don't know. Because I think it's spelled Wang. So Johnny Wang or Wong, Johnny Wang, was actually in the White House the day that, the Branch Davidian compound was being burned down to the ground. He was actually in the Oval Office. He and Bill and these other fucking red Chinese were in there laughing. They're like, haha, watch, we're gonna catch this whole fucking thing on fire. It's gonna be great. We should fly down there and roast some marshmallows. That'll be awesome. In 1992, the Jennifer Flowers thing popped off. The Draft Dodgers story was out there, and Clinton was out of money. I'm not saying these things to bring these topics back up. I'm saying these things to put this next thing into context. The New York primary was coming up, and Clinton was out of money. The Riotti family leveraged an Arkansas bank who gave the Clinton campaign $3.5 million, which was enough to get him nominated. What did these commies get for their money? I don't know. Johnny Wang got a top secret clearance. He got regular briefings from the CIA and a position in the Department of Commerce. That is to say, or that is what they got, or part of it. Oh, they also got the Long Beach naval base too. And you think you're like, what's this guy talking about? What do you mean they got a Long Beach naval base? And I'm saying the Clintons demilitarized a naval base and handed it over to the Riotti family via this Lippo group. They basically sold them a naval base in California. Long Beach. LBC. There's so much trouble in the LBC. All right, so the Clinton Foundation got into all this wild shit. This guy, Ambassador Joe Wilson, who was also vice chairman of this mining company called JARC Capital, they leased a huge swath of land. They said something like some kind of 100 of hectares. I don't know what that means, so I decided not to try to sound like I know what it means. Instead, just say a huge portion of land, because I don't know what a hectare is. If you say, hey, I got 100 hectares, I'm looking for like some cholo, like a gang of cholos. But then I know that means hectares and not hectares, and I just come off sounding like a racist, right? So, anyhow, I like flannel too, guys. And those headbands, that's my shit. Huge swath of land from warlords of South Sudan. So the South Sudan at the time was in a civil war. So this ambassador, Joe Wilson, who was also vice chairman of JARC Capital, effectively paid these warlords for sovereignty changes. He gave them a ton of money. They went and bought guns. They went to their enemies, killed them, took over their land, and was like, okay, now you guys can come and drill here. Like, do we need an ethics department here to fucking sort this out? I'm not sure. It sounds kind of shady. The idea that these warlords would slaughter the tribes in this civil war, the opposing tribes, and then let JARC in to make massive amounts of money, and then they make a donation or they pay for a speech or two from the Secretary of State or the ex-president of the United States. This nation's number one, not that the ex-president is this nation's number one diplomat, but the Secretary of State is this nation's number one diplomat. And, or an ex-president of the United States like Bill Clinton. So what they would do is they would go in, they would legitimize it, they would make it legal, and then the money would get fueled into their foundation from JARC Capital. So that's like a real world thing. That actually fucking happened. And here's another one. Here's one more real world example. I'm not going to spend all day doing this. There's a great documentary there's actually a great book called Clinton Cash that talks all about this Clinton Foundation stuff. So a lot of this research comes from this Clinton Cash thing. And like, you guys are going to turn it on, you're going to be like, oh, it's Steve Bannon. Bah. Fucking listen to it. Just fucking read it and listen to it or whatever. All right, here's one more. When a senator, Hillary Clinton becomes a champion for the idea of relief for the people of the Congo, who's in one of the worst human rights situations ever. Like, the Congo is violating civil rights everywhere. And as she transitions into the State Department, this Swedish guy pledges $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. So this guy is going to mine the Congo, and he needs U.S. foreign policy to stay status quo. Now, remember, when she was a senator, before she transitioned to the Secretary of State, she was like, no, shit's got to change in the Congo because, like, all these crazy human rights violations. Now she's the Secretary of State. This guy gave the Clinton Foundation $100 million. And Clinton changed polls 180 degrees, seemingly overnight, from supporting reform in the Congo into keeping America's hands off. How much does your soul cost? I don't know. I would say you could probably buy mine for a couple of those indestructible gigantic bottles of gin, a lemon, and a crate of tonic water. So Hillary's got a leg up on me because hers probably only cost $50 million. This is only like half of this $100 million because she totally flips. She betrays a whole region of people that are suffering human rights violations for $100 million. It seems cheap. I mean, does it? It seems cheap to me. Cheap. Who's got the keys to the Jeep? Me.
Stigmata Studios presents The Scorpion Strikes. In this comic book, a terrorist called the Scorpion is transported to a secret CIA prison. He quickly turns the tables on the guards and administrators and releases the prisoners. A well-armed anarchist called Constituent Zero assembles a team and fights to take the prison back. This story is a dark political action thriller. The Scorpion's actions set the stage perfectly for the Jin Jihad. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on The Scorpion Strikes, The Jin Jihad, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com.
Okay, so the next thing is Nigeria. There is this U.S. law stating that countries that get foreign aid from the U.S. has to spend it transparently. If they don't, the U.S. federal aid would be cut off. That makes sense, right? That makes sense, right? However, there's a loophole. You can get a transparency waiver from, can you guess it? Can you guess who you get a transparency waiver from? The Secretary of State can issue this transparency warning just like Hillary Clinton did for Nigeria. So after this Nigerian businessman, like I said, they act through because they need to stay isolated too. Like, politically speaking, these third world or otherwise countries can't be implicated in paying off for, like, paying bribes for U.S. policy changes. Because a lot of these guys get off on saying, like, they're as important or whatever as America is and stuff. So they go through these third party or there's tertiary, like, business people that each person, like, each party has in common or something like that. We're going to see this later. So after this Nigerian businessman, who's also chums with the president, with the Nigerian president, paid Bill Clinton $700,000 apiece for 2 speeches. At the time, Bill Clinton's normal speaking fees were less than $200,000, which seems to me like a crime in and of itself. So they wound up getting this because of the payment to Bill to the foundation, $700,000 apiece for 2 speeches. Hillary, this Secretary of State, signed this waiver, so they're like, you don't have to explain how you're spending our foreign aid to you. Like, this transparency waiver takes care of all that. Does that seem kosher? As a taxpayer, they're receiving our money. You know, they're receiving our money. And it's like, it's shitty enough that they're sending it overseas, but, like, do they have to, like, No, I mean, I guess that's why it's outrageous. They're sending it overseas in the first place. Like, fuck that. We got tons of stuff to work on over here. Why are you sending my money to Nigeria? Well, at least they're spending it right. And then Hillary Clinton's like, no, never mind. You don't have to tell us how you're spending it. You're like, what? What are you talking about? It's fucking... the whole thing is crazy. It's all bananas. It's bananas, man. Bananas. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have like 10 more fucking things. God, I hope I don't have to stretch this out to another episode. I'm fucking sick of it. I only bring that up is because I only have 2 more spots to play, and I got like 10 more fucking pages to go. All right, so next we're going to move into what's called disaster capitalism. And it sounds shitty enough. The Haiti earthquake, January 2010. The biggest foreign issue that Hillary Clinton had to deal with as her time in the Secretary of State. And she talked a great game. She's like, we're going to get in there. We're going to fix it. We're going to recover and rebuild, and like all this shit is going to be great. Then Bill gets appointed as some sort of special envoy from the UN, and he zooms down there. And instead of rebuilding roads and buildings, donors of the Clinton Foundation all started to get these government contracts. So instead of relief and recovery in the south of Haiti, new manufacturing centers get set up in northern Haiti. And they're like, what are you guys even doing up here? Like, we're fine. Shouldn't you guys be worried about there? And they're like, no, we're going to stimulate the economy. We're going to build a bunch of textile factories up here. Companies like Target and probably like Walmart and like The Gap. Like all these companies were involved in getting this done because it's like cheap labor and like, hey, we're nudge, we're stimulating the economy anyways. It was a thing called the Caracol factory. Contractors got contracts based on how much money they donated to the Clinton Foundation. This is a hard, cold reality. You're like, how well are they in there? They're fixing stuff. They're rebuilding buildings. They're doing this. No, listen to this. This Digicel owner, who's Dennis O'Brien. He's an Irish telecom guy. That's why I said his name was Dennis O'Brien. He's an Irish telecom guy. He's a big-time Clinton Foundation donor, and he got a huge grant and contract to roll out phones, and cheap phones, and money transfer apps to Haiti. Haitians are mad as shit at the Clintons. Instead of recovery, the Haitians got resorts. I'm more on that later. I'm going to get to I think there's more on that later. Gold mining contracts. So Haitians hadn't awarded gold mining contracts for over 50 years, but they got convinced to do so in the midst of this recovery. And they did so in the middle of this recovery. Guess who got the contracts? I mean, can you guess who got these contracts? Was it like, I'm the #1 gold mining company and I have like tons of reputation? Nope. VCS Mining, whose Hillary's brother sat on the board of, got the contract. They had no experience in gold mining at the time. I mean, it sounds crazy, right? It just sounds crazy. I'm gonna blow this. I'm gonna spend it. That's when you should have played. God, this fucking sound.
Well, we have every reason to be mad because the Clintons have destroyed Haiti for the decades. And, you know, they pretend to be our friends when in reality they are our #1 enemies. You know, there are some other people who clearly behave like they don't like us. So it's easy for us to protect ourselves against them because we know they are our enemies. But the Clintons are even more dangerous because they pretend to be our friends when in reality they're destroying Haiti.
Because I heard that the Clinton Foundation and all these other organizations gave over $6 billion to Haiti for the relief effort, especially during the kind of natural disasters that you guys have gone through. Is that true?
No, it's more than true. The money is much more than $6 billion. You see, after the earthquake, countries around the world donate billions of dollars. The amount was much larger than $6 billion. And Bill Clinton was in charge of the money. And not only people around the world, but also American celebrities donate a lot of larger money to rebuild Haiti. And hundreds of homes were destroyed after the earthquake. And if you can believe, the people are still living under tents. That's unacceptable. And not only they held the money, they kept the money, but Haiti had enough resources for them to be very comfortable. Haiti have oil, more oil than Venezuela. Nobody's talking about it. Haiti have gold. We have one of the largest gold mine.
We just talked about the gold. We just talked about the gold.
So, and they let the world. Nobody's saying anything about our goals. Yeah. And who do you think is in charge of our goal right now? The contract. Yeah. Tony Rodham, Hillary Clinton's brother.
Wow.
He's got a 26 years contract. And then also Haiti used to produce. We used to produce our own rice. We didn't have to buy rice overseas. Bill Clinton destroyed our rice so his brother can sell the rice from Arkansas.
Yeah, wow.
So they're doing a lot of things. Right now, if there's a millionaire or a billionaire who wants to do business in Haiti, they cannot do anything unless they check with the Clintons. The Clintons are the one who's running Haiti.
Yeah, wow.
And we are living in the 21st century. We are the first black people who liberate ourselves from the French rule. We fought 3 empires, the British, the Spanish, the French. So it's unacceptable for us to be occupied right now.
As we saw the investigations into where a lot of the relief funds for Haiti came into, and it ultimately went nowhere to the people but big multinational corporations, and a lot of the people who are still dealing with that natural disaster never got any relief because all the money that was funneled into them, even through the Red Cross, even through the Clinton Global Initiative, which the Clinton Global Initiative sometimes uses and brags like, look, we helped out Haiti, we did this for Haiti. What did they do for Haiti, and what's the current situation there?
What have the Clinton, not only Haiti, what have the Clinton done with their foundation? They don't help anyone. They're just enriching themselves. Going, stealing people's money, resources. That's what they do. We're asking friends, the American friends, to stand up with us. This is unacceptable. We cannot allow this to happen. We are living in the 21st century. We cannot allow a liar, a crooked, a thief to be president. We cannot allow that to happen. If that happens, I will have no respect for America or United States anymore. Yeah. Because I used to believe America was the greatest country in the world.
Here, here.
But there is no more justice anymore. Because the American justice is crooked. Look how they're supporting Hillary Clinton.
Here, here. Bros, this episode is gonna be so long. I still got a ton of shit to get to. All right, so the Clintons, also these guys are entangled in the XL pipeline. She signed off on it as Secretary of State for a bribe, essentially for a $2 million bribe. They are ass deep in a lumber grab in Colombia. They are cutting down these rainforests, and you have to understand, like, you can't be like, well, I mean, rainforest is like good business or whatever. Like, these guys are also saying, these guys and Dan Quayle, they're not Dan Quayle, what the fuck? Al Gore. These guys and Al Gore, they're the ones that are like, we gotta stop cutting these trees down because of global warming, and like fish are swimming in the streets of Miami, which is fucking retarded. Or they're like, this is like, look, everything's melting and the shorelines are rising and we gotta be more like, everything's gotta be sustainable. It's all gotta be sustainable. But these guys are like, they're down on this thing. They're cutting down I don't know if it's hectares. I don't know if they're cutting down hectares in Colombia, but they're cutting down swaths of rainforests in Colombia, and they're facilitating cutting it down. They're actually sending the lumber to China. So we got this fucking Chinese connection again. It's so wild. These Chinese keep coming around again and again. And actually, we're dealing with South Korea right now and their nuclear situation. It's all because of Bill Clinton. Every single bit of it is about Bill Clinton. But there's also another nuclear story in this chapter, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the nuclear. We're going to get into the Indian nukes. And when I say that, I mean the dot Indian, not the feather Indian nukes. You didn't know that they had nuclear weapons? Well, I'm going to shed some light on it, I guess, for you. Here we go. All right, so there was an Indian nuke deal. In 1998, India started testing nukes, and no one was prepared for that. Bill actually, the CIA was like, "Hey, we didn't know this was happening." England, nobody was like, "Hey, we had no idea this was going on." Bill sanctions the shit out of them with an anti-proliferation treaty. So let's get a little bit of context with this. India is surrounded by enemies, bro. It's surrounded by Pakistan and China, both of which are nuclear powers. So you can understand why they're like, "Hey, I would like some nuclear war stuff too." So through shady Indian nationals, this guy named Omar Singh and Cindy Chatwell in 2005, India started making donations to the Clinton Foundation. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for speeches. Millions of dollars in donations. In 2008, Secretary Hillary Clinton all of a sudden became in favor of India getting access to American nuclear technology. So in 98, they get sanctioned. In 2008, they are given American nuclear technology. The only thing that changed was hundreds of thousands of dollars for speeches and millions of dollars of donations to the Clinton Foundation. I would normally play some something here to break up, but we're going to move to the next topic. I mean, I need to get through this. Guys, we are running along as shit already. The Russian uranium deal. You might have heard a lot about this. You might not have heard a lot about this. But you're going to hear a lot about it right now. (2005). Okay, so Bill Clinton goes to Kazakhstan. Most people think that Kazakhstan is like from Borat, where they're like, "Oh, the Jews are cockroaches, and we're going to do the running of the Jews," and like they're like, "Let my cousin's a goat prostitute," or something like that. And then there's the other people on the exact flip side of it, where they're like, "Oh no, the Kazakhstan's a utopian domed city of central planning, and is this brilliant receptacle for a new religion of a upcoming age." But none of that's true. It's actually like what no one will tell you is that since the fall of the USSR, Kazakhstan is lorded over by a ruthless dictator named, I'm going to try to get through this, Nazarbayev, who shuts down political opposition and he tortures political opponents. The meeting was supposed to be about AIDS and the HIV. I don't know why we're still dealing with this. AIDS and the HIV. I don't know why we have AIDS awareness months or weeks or whatever. It's just like, just put a rubber on. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight or whatever. If you're fucking someone you don't know, just put a rubber on. You'll be fine. AIDS will be gone in like, well, it's not going to be gone, but new cases of AIDS will be gone in like a day. Like, if you just did it. I mean, come on. I don't mean it to sound shitty. I'm just like, we spend a lot of money on doing this, but it's just like, if you don't know who you're putting your dick into, just put a rubber on it, bros. And like, AIDS won't be a problem. I mean, it'll be a problem to the people that already have it. That sounds shitty. Everything I say sounds shitty right now. I mean, but that's just what you should do. And then we won't have to have like 8 weeks and days, and we won't have to have ribbons and stuff. Like, just put a rubber on your dick if you're fucking somebody you don't know. Whether it be a boy, whether it be a girl, whether you're a boy, whether you're a girl, whether you're, I don't know. Well, there is like the heroin stuff, but I mean, then just, stop using heroin. Everything will be okay. Everything will be great. We'll set it back to 0. All right, I probably pissed enough people off. We could just move on. But it isn't a problem. Okay, so AIDS and HIV is not a problem in Kazakhstan. Like I said, it shouldn't be a problem anywhere. Kazakhstan is, in fact, one of the largest uranium producers in the world. It's like the Wakanda of uranium. It's like the Black Panther, like, he rules Wakanda. It's like where the vibranium is. Kazakhstan's like the Wakanda of the uranium. I'm losing focus. I need to get going. I need to rip through this. So Bill stands up with this dictator, Nazarbayev, at a press conference. And he talks a bunch of shit. He was like, hey, man, these people in Kazakhstan, they're having elections. He praises this guy's human rights. And he says this guy should head up a human rights thingy of Europe. And, like, none of the, like, there's fake elections. This guy has this guy's a violator of human rights across the board, and he should have nothing to do with heading a human rights organization of anywhere, even Europe. So think about this. Think about how much this is going to cost this guy, Nazarbayev. So we've seen it. We've seen the formula. We've seen what happens. They have a need. They want something from the U.S. and they have access to the device that's going to give it to them. How much do you think it's going to cost? How much do you think it's going to cost them to pay the Clinton Foundation to get what they want? I mean, it seems like they've already kind of got part of what they want, because Bill's like, yeah, there's elections, yeah. He's already legitimizing this fucking Nazarbayev guy. All right, here we go. 2 days later, a ton of uranium concessions get released to Frank Justra, who is a Clinton crony. Hundreds of billions of dollars of concessions. 2 weeks later, this Justra guy starts pledging and donating what will be $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. And I'm going to just take this. I have tried to not do that from a while back. But I'm going to say $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. And only 10% goes to philanthropic. 10 cents to every dollar goes to philanthropic endeavors. Everything else goes to the Clintons. His first pledge was $30 million, and it'll eventually become $100 million of the Clinton Foundation. All because this crazy dictator, this human rights violating motherfucker, is just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. This paper, so thick and swarthy. All right, all this gets flipped around. Where this Juicer character forms a company and a merger and ends up with an estimated 20% of the USA's uranium production in a company called Uranium 1. Well, okay, so Putin knows, like, a lot of uranium comes out of Russia or what was previously Russian states. After Ronald Reagan destroyed Russia, the USSR. So this guy, he's like, he wants a part of it. He wants a slice of it. Since uranium, the State Department, since it's uranium, the State Department has to approve it. So what happens? We've seen it. We've seen a pattern. It's formed. You want to take a guess what happens? Uranium 1 and its controllers all start funding the Clinton Foundation. Also, the Russian government starts funding the Clinton Foundation from a group in Canada called Rostom. So they start funneling, Rostom starts funneling it to a Canadian company who funds it directly into the Clintons. And what happens? She signs off on it, giving Vladimir Putin 20% of the U.S. uranium production. This is not about Russian hookers peeing on beds. This is about uranium, stupid. It's about uranium. It's about what you need to create an atomic bomb. This is... So, we're going to wrap it up here. We're wrapping it up. Okay, I skipped some big stuff, yo. Obviously, I skipped Benghazi. That might be a whole episode some point in the future. I skipped Keyboard Gate. I skipped all the fucking dead people they know. I skipped the Energizer Buddy. I skipped Sandy Berger stealing docs out of the National Archive in his underpants. I skipped a lot of shit. I skipped her defending that rapist back in the 70s. I skipped her personal server. I skipped a ton of shit, man. I had to. I mean, I'm suffering already. Like, I spent more than 2 hours on this already. Like, I can't do it, whatever. So this is what I have to say. But am I saying these people are human leeches? Am I saying they're greedy, do anything for money? Am I saying that these people probably sacrificed infants in a Faustian deal to rule the world and to never get caught? Snapping off babies, newborn infants' arms and sucking the blood and the bone marrow out of them like go-gurts? Yes, that's what I am positing. That's what I think that they're doing.
Vienna, 1683. Today is September 11th, 1683. The mighty army of the Ottoman Empire, led by the savage and radical terror troops of the Dar al-Harb, surround the walled city of Vienna and begin a siege to break the golden apple of Europe. and kill, enslave, or convert all of its inhabitants. The valiant citizens stand against the tyrannical army with the steadfast leadership of Count Ernst Rudiger von Stromberg, the help of the ever-living rebel, Cyrus, the Dead Guy, and the hopes of the faraway King Jan Sobieski III and his army of flying hussars. The Vienna 1683 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us. The Non-Standard Squad, 1944. World War II. 3 weird American soldiers are on a search and rescue mission into the oldest and darkest regions of Europe. A cursed, ever-living warrior, Cyrus the Dead Guy. An experimental warbot, Sergeant Lane McCord. An all-red axe, mysterious rogue with a demon-possessed arm come face-to-face with an army of magically corrupted machine-obsessed elves, a magic hammer-wielding Norse Ubermensch, and a Nazi wizard who is a member of the ancient Dark Order of the Shining Hexagon. The Non-Standard Squad 1944 comic is available right now from Stigmata Studios at stigmatastudios.com and on indieplanet.us.
All right. Support the show. There's great ways to do it. You can support the show by rating and reviewing on iTunes. You can support the show rating and reviewing wherever you get whatever podcatcher you're getting and you're doing. Also, you can spread word of mouth to your friends, letting them know. You know, if you're a weird fucking guy and you like the idea of other weird stuff, you probably know someone else that might like it. The best way to support the show is buy some comic books. You listen to some great commercials to buy the comic books, so go there. Stigmatastudios.com. You can find all the great ways to connect with me in the social media. Instagram, I'm doing a lot of great stuff on Instagram nowadays. So you might want to do that. Twitters and all this other kind of stuff. If you're wondering what to listen to next, like, hey, I got you through over an hour and almost a half of shit. What I listen to now? Go to society-13.com and find the other shows associated with the show. That's awesome. And support them. They're great. All of them. That's me. Dudes, I promised my wife I was going to cook breakfast for dinner, and I promised it 2 hours ago. I really need to roll on and get out of this mode and do it. But listen, these 2 episodes were all about. They were all about the people that are I don't understand the problem with Hillary Clinton. She's just this little old lady that doesn't understand her server or she doesn't understand her smartphone. Or people that are I don't understand what the problem is. Bill Clinton just liked to get his dick sucked. That doesn't mean he was a bad president. And his economic policy was good, solid. Ha! If you're the fucking kind of guy that's I'll listen to a couple YouTube videos about how the world is flat, and you come out and being I don't know, maybe, then apply that same logic to this and hey, there's a lot of smoke here. There's actually a lot of fire here. There's enough fire to be it's not a smoke, it's a fire. It's a campfire. That's a forest fire. So I'm done. I'm done with it. You're probably never going to, hopefully with any luck, we're never going to do a Clinton episode again. This is done. I really want to put it away. And be we dodged a bullet like Neo, motherfuckers. And thank God for, what do they call it? what's it called? It's not what do they call it. It's like, what's it called? It's the, drawing a blank. The Electoral College. The Electoral College was designed to make sure that people that had frantic, sort of insane supporters in select areas of the country couldn't elect a crazy person, a insane cult leader. And I know a lot of you are like, yeah, well, where was it? And I'm like, bros, it was right there. Like, it fucking did its job. Thanks. So I'm going to leave you tonight with Soda Jerk. We're going to do Miss My Ways, which I think we already did once before or whatever, but it just seems poignant here. So here we go. Everybody, thank you guys. I love you. Thank you for letting me take up your time and help you do your shit, man. It's awesome. If you guys are in a band, if you know someone who's in a band, I'm looking for artists to do this because I need to sort of, I don't know, decompress or whatever. So I'm always looking for bands now. I'm always looking for like indie artists to like help me transition from where I'm at now to the end of the show. So here we go. This is Soda Jerk. The song's called Miss My Ways. I'm John. This has been the Abercast, and bye fuckers. Thank you all. Yeah, there you go.
Is it just a curse? Why do they never stay? My heart's just like a hearse, driving them away. They'll cover me with dirt and pour a bottle on my grave. And tonight I want you to say that you miss my ways, that you're coming back again. 'Cause you can tell by my face that I'll take anything. Anything. I guess I know it's late, but what can I do? Our love's just like a night fight in a telephone booth. Well, I can't seem to clean my scarlet hands of you. And tonight I want you to say that you miss my ways, that you're coming back again. You can tell by my face that I'll take anything. Anything. My ways, that you're coming back again. 'Cause you can tell by my face that I'll take anything. Tonight I want you to say how you adjust my ways, and you can tell by my face that I'll take anything.